How's it going, everybody? RazingHel here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build a fire farm that can effectively allow you to farm beefalo and Don't Starve Together. So credit for this idea goes to Jelly Ultra on the Don't Starve Together forum, and I'll be linking to his tutorial post in the description below this video, so you can use that one instead if you'd prefer a write-up to a video demonstration. So as you can see here, we've got some beefalo, and we want to get rid of them without having to do it the traditional way. We don't want to have to kite them or use a boss to kill them. And the best way to do this is to create a bit of a fire farm. So we're going to use a salt lick. So I'm just going to prefab that. We're also going to need an ice flingomatic, which is found in the science tab. That's going to put the fire out. And then we're going to need a bunch of walls and some gates. We're also going to need a potter's wheel for building statues and the resources to actually make those statues. So I'm planning on putting this fire farm right at the edge of the savanna here. For more accurate placement, you can dig up a tile of the turf, so that way you can put down the walls right around it. If you like something a little bit more visually friendly, you can use carpet or another dominant piece of turf like that. Since I have geometric placement, it's really easy for me, but for people who don't have geometric placement, it makes it a lot easier to see where you need to build the walls. So that's the main advantage to using the carpet or just digging up the terrain there in general, so you can get a better idea of where you need to place the walls, because it needs to be a certain size. If it gets outside a certain size, the fire won't spread as effectively. So you want to keep it relatively small. So as you can see there, we have our walls placed down. Now we just need a couple of doors in the front. This is where the beefalo will enter. And this over on here, this side is where I will exit after trapping them in. Next, we need to place the potter's wheel. Place it somewhat close to the actual pen, because you'll be needing some refined stone to actually craft the sculptures. By default, the potter's wheel does not have many sculptures in it, so unless you gather some more, you're going to be a little bit limited as to what you can actually craft with it. In my case, we're going to go ahead and use the bubble pipe here, craft it out of cut stone, and then we need to haul it over and into the pen. One thing that can make the placement more precise is by equipping something like a breezy vest. Any sort of article of clothing on your body will make your character drop whatever sculpture you are carrying in the exact location that you're standing. But that is not necessary to successfully complete this. Let's get our second bubble pipe. You might be wondering the reasoning behind getting these sculptures, and it's because the way pathfinding works for mobs, it will allow them to run against it because they think that there is an opening there. Otherwise, they'll try to pathfind around walls. So there we can see we have our bubble pipes, and now we would just need to create a path so we can walk right through here with the gate. That side is open as well. Now it's time to put up the salt lick. Try to place it a little bit outside of the pen, so that way it doesn't catch on fire too easily when you're actually doing the fire farming. And at this point, there's no reason not to get rid of the potter's wheel, because it's already been used for everything we need it for. The next most important part of this farm is going to be actually placing down the rope. And the rope is what's going to cause the majority of the fire damage. The reason we use rope is because it's relatively cheap to create, and it has a long burn time. If you use something that burns too quickly, you won't be able to deal enough damage to actually kill the beefalo. So there are a couple of ways we can go about doing it for the rope, because we need to drop each one individually. What does this mean? Well, if you drop a stack of rope, even if it's like 20 rope, it'll sort of behave as if it's one rope when it's burning. But if you drop a stack of, say, 10 individual ropes, each one of those individual ropes will behave as its own rope. Now, if you're using the keyboard and mouse on a computer, you're going to need a mod to do what I'm doing here. For example, I can hold down a couple of keyboard modifiers and right-click 10 times to drop as many ropes, all in the same place. That's generally what we want to do here. If you don't have that mod, which I will be linking to in the description below this video, you can alternatively use a controller instead. So I'm just going to go into the settings here, switch over to my Xbox controller, and demonstrate it using this. So as you can see now, we'll move into the location that we want to drop the ropes, and we have our ropes, sorted out individually, which will allow us to drop them one by one. And as you can see, you can press down on the D-pad, which will allow you to drop each and every single one of those ropes by themselves in the same location. This is just functionality that is not replicated through the use of the keyboard and mouse, sadly, unless you have a mod. So yeah, that's really the only way to work it if you don't have the controller. But the great news is that you don't need a mod to actually make this work. Let's move back to the keyboard. As you can see, we already have one beefalo stuck in here already. Came in on its own accord, which is fine. So we are attracting some beefalo attention, which is great. We need some more ropes in this location over here. So I'm going to be dropping another 10 in this corner and maybe another 10 right here. So we've got 2 beefalo in there so far. I mean, it could be a bit of a problem. So one of the things I'm thinking of is I'm just going to bait them back out by attacking them, because I kind of want them to be out of this pen right now. If I wanted to, I could actually use it the way it is, but I'd rather have more of them in there. So we're going to try that first. Okay, the next thing I want to do is open the wooden gate here on one side. It doesn't really matter which. And as you can see, we have our ropes in there. We've got our bubble pipes, which will allow us to trap the beefalo inside. They will pathfind right through here. And then the salt lick will help keep them there, so that way they don't leave. So let's go over here, grab a beefalo. Gotta be very careful about how we do this here. There. Very nice. Just run away. Just run away until they lose aggro. That way they won't destroy your gates and walls on you. That probably will be enough. And now that they're within that range, see, they just go for the salt lick. They're all very happy and whatnot. And then you can close the gates back here. And the use of the bubble pipes or sculptures are absolutely essential if you want them to try to pathfind through the pen. If you think you can lure them in with just using gates, it's possible, but this makes it a lot easier because they're more willing to enter that space instead of pathfind around it, especially if you don't want to ever attack them, because you can also set this up relatively close to the beefalo and they will just be naturally attracted to it, as you saw a little bit earlier. Now the next and most important part of this entire experiment, we're going to need to place down a nice flingomatic, because this is what's going to put out the fire for us to prevent everything from burning. Then we're just going to get one additional rope here. And this is not important, but it serves as a good indicator. I like to use this as a fail-safe, because when you light this rope, if you see it go up in ashes, you know you have to turn on the flingomatic, because otherwise other stuff is going to start burning. If you light something like the gates or whatnot, it's a little bit riskier if that stuff starts burning, right? If it burns to ashes or burns down. Okay, so here we go, actual fire farm. Light that rope on fire and you'll notice the fire will spread. One thing you want to keep an eye on here is the salt lick, because it can start on fire as well. But yeah, so you can see the beefalo are taking some damage there. They're running around because of the fire. The flingomatic will not turn on immediately, so we should be able to see some beefalo die before we need to turn it on. Oop. Let's put the, okay, we gotta turn the flingomatic on. This is the stuff you have to be really careful about. And there. Turn that off, and you can see we have all the drops. Now, some people might be a little bit confused. Why do beefalo drop the regular drops when they're on fire? And it's because they haven't really been set on fire. For some reason, this works. I don't know exactly why it works the way it does. Now you can just walk in here and you can pick up all these drops. If you want to hold down F, or you know, whatever your modifier is to pick up stuff, you'll end up picking up the ropes and stuff as well, so you have to place them back down again. Otherwise, you can just click on whatever is laying around here on the ground. I personally find it easier to place down the ropes every time, because I can just hold down like my modifier and click, 40 different times to place down those stacks of rope, instead of needing to click each and every individual drop that's on the ground from the beefalo. But your mileage may vary. So there you can see we got everything picked up. We still have a couple of beefalo sitting around over here, which will help repopulate the herd. And there you go. Obviously the pen itself is a bit limited in its capacity, so if you have really large herds, you might need to have a couple of goes at it. But this is a really great method, I think, for farming beefalo. I was really excited when I first started trying it out, and it can be used for other mobs as well. There are other mobs that go after salt licks, or you can also use it for things like pigs or bunnymen once you get them trapped inside this little pen. Once again, another great aspect of this strategy is that it doesn't require any sort of mods whatsoever. Mods can make it easier by allowing you to drop things more effectively, but if you have a console or you have the controller, it's relatively straightforward to drop the ropes down in a single pile. This is probably one of the safest methods I've seen for farming beefalo and Don't Starve Together. Thank you very much for watching as always, and I hope to see you next time.